What do you think of the matchup of this Super Bowl, Kirk?
Well, I think
what do you got for me?
Over the long NFL season, these really were the two best teams. So I think it's fitting that they're in the Super Bowl. Just observing from a distance, I watched a lot more of the Eagles than I did of the Chiefs throughout the season, just because we had so many common opponents.
You also played them in week 2.
Correct, yeah. I saw them up close and personal. But my head would say the Eagles, are probably the better football team overall.
Why is that?
Just the line play. You see the D-line. They've just been dominant. I mean, all season long. And I think their only losses were really when Jalen Hurts wasn't playing. And so they've just, from wire to wire, just been convincing. But the Chiefs are there for a reason, and they've been at the top of the league now for several years for a reason, and so I do think it'll be a great football game.
And it's interesting with Hurts. I'd love to linger with Hurts a little bit with you, especially since he said there were a bunch of people that weren't welcoming him with open arms. They didn't think they were surprised that he was selected there. I mean, you want to talk about somebody who was drafted and surprised a fan base that being drafted there. You're kind of that guy, you know. Like I mean, in the same draft at RG3 being drafted, you're drafted there too.
Sure.
But there's had to be a bunch of folks there who were kind of, why is he here? And he kind of voiced that he had that feeling when he was there in Philadelphia.
Yeah, I think in pro football, what I've learned through my decade of experience with it is sometimes you just never can tell. And you don't know what's going to happen. And it's so key for us as players to just keep going to work, keep our head down, stay humble, stay hungry, and believe. And you never know what's going to happen. I think Jalen's done that, and I think a lot of great players in this league have done that. But you start to find that Jalen's story, my story, is actually more normal than people might think, because certainly the first-round picks get a lot of attention and the guys who were supposed to be great.
Yes.
But whether it's Tom Brady, whether it's Jalen Hurts, whether it's any number of offensive, defensive linemen, there are a lot of guys who have carved out great careers in this league that nobody saw coming out of high school or out of college.
Yeah. So were there moments where you were wondering, will I get a shot?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I remember, even coming out of Michigan State, and you're in the draft process, and you're even wondering, am I going to get picked? And then when you do get picked, wondering, am I going to get a shot? I remember Kyle Shanahan, the day after I was drafted, gave me a call, and he just said, Kirk, the goal is that you would play well in preseason games, and we would trade you. That's really the model where this works out well.
Is that what he said?
That was the model, and I understood, because he said, I coached Matt Schaub in Houston, and that was the model that he took. He backed up Michael Vick in Atlanta for 3 years, played well in preseason games in a small stint where Mike got hurt. We traded for him in Houston, and he had a great career with us in Houston. So he said, that's really a great model. It can be done. So don't think that because you're backing up that it's a dead end. The preseason is going to give you a great opportunity to someday get traded. But really, that was the model, was this works out well if you can give us a couple of draft picks down the road by getting traded.
How did you take that?
Well, I think, as my dad said an hour after I was picked, he said, Kirk, Mike Shanahan has coached around Bill Walsh, around John Elway, around Steve Young. Yeah. If he's picking you in a situation where it really wouldn't be logical to, he believes in you and he sees something in you. So he said, I would take that as a vote of confidence that Kyle and Mike really think you can play. And they're going to have your back. And sure enough, as time has proven, they did.
Well, I mean, a lot of the conversation around at the time, because I was sitting on a draft set and we were talking about it right after that, was that maybe the Shanahans weren't the ones sold on RG3 to begin with.
Yeah, I don't think that was the case. Yeah, I don't think so. I think Mike had a vision for how they could use Griff running the football and the difference it could make in this league with a running quarterback. And to their credit and to Griff's credit, they did. I mean, he won Rookie of the Year, and defenses didn't really have a great answer, and they were able to regulate defenses, and Mike and Kyle both have such great football minds. They had a way of being able to really make his skill set a problem for defenses. So certainly it was I think something that they understood what they were doing.
Yeah, and now you take a look at Hurts himself. I mean, you talk about running and passing threat. He's dynamite this year. Just
the RPO game, it continues to be tough to defend if you know what you're doing, and then you got to have a quarterback who really can run it and knows how to run it, and clearly he's good at it and has a great feel for it, as do their entire team and their scheme, their offense. So it's tough to defend. Like you said, I watched it week 2. It was tough to defend, and it's a defense also. Their D-line, it's tough, man. They make you earn it.